Rewiring doesn't start with action, it starts with interpretation. That's our topic today. You've probably heard it 100 times by now: if you want to change your life, change your habits. Take action, build momentum, and there's truth in that. But here's what most people never tell you, and what nearly every transformation video leaves out. Your brain doesn't rewire just because you act differently. It rewires when you interpret that action differently. That's important. So let me say it again. Your brain rewires when you interpret that action differently, because you can change your behavior on the outside and still reinforce the old identity underneath. Let's say you've been waking up earlier. You've cleaned up your space. You've even started working out. But internally, if every action is still followed by a quiet voice saying you're probably going to fall off again, or this doesn't really count because it wasn't perfect, then your brain isn't strengthening the behavior, it's strengthening the doubt. You're walking the new path, but interpreting it through the lens of the old self. And this is where most rewiring efforts fail. Not because the actions are wrong, but because the meaning hasn't changed. This isn't just motivational talk, this is biology. Neuroscience shows that repetition alone doesn't solidify a neural pathway, emotional salience does. In plain terms, it's not just what you do, it's how much meaning your brain assigns to what you do. If you work hard but tell yourself it's still not good enough, your brain tags that moment with anxiety, not growth, and it remembers the feeling, not the effort. This is why some people stay stuck for years, even when they're doing everything right. So let's shift how we approach rewiring completely. Instead of obsessing over what to do next, we start with the lens we're using to interpret what we've already done. Most people think they're struggling because they don't have enough discipline. They assume if they could just push a little harder, stick to the plan, change would finally land. But that's not how your brain works. Your brain isn't just protecting you from discomfort, it's protecting the story you've lived by. Every action you take is filtered through a mental framework, a running commentary your brain uses to explain what just happened. And that commentary isn't random. It's built from years of emotionally charged experiences. If you've been told that your worth depends on results, then even when you take healthy action, your brain might say, sure, but it wasn't perfect. Or, let's not get too confident, remember what happened last time. It's not punishing you, it's preserving a narrative that once kept you emotionally safe. And that's the contradiction at the core of failed self-improvement. You're trying to build new habits, but your brain is still measuring them through the lens of old survival logic. Here's where it gets deeper. Your nervous system doesn't care if the story is true. It only cares if the story has kept you alive. So if self-doubt, playing small, or avoiding attention helped you avoid emotional threat in the past, your brain will defend that strategy even if it's destroying your potential today. That's why action alone doesn't work, because if the interpretation stays the same, your brain keeps reinforcing the very wiring you're trying to escape. You could build a business, go to the gym, start creating. But if your inner voice still says, you're not built for this, then every win gets diluted by disbelief. That's not a lack of motivation, that's neural loyalty. Because rewiring doesn't happen when you do something different. It happens when your brain believes that what you did actually meant something new. Before we keep going, if this is landing for you, if it's helping you name something you've been feeling but couldn't explain, hit the like button. And if you want more grounded, no fluff content like this, hit subscribe. It tells YouTube to show you more of what's actually useful, not just what's loud. So how do you actually start rewiring? Not by repeating the same action 1,000 times hoping it sticks, but by changing the way your brain tags that action the moment it happens. Because here's the truth, why? Our interpretation system isn't fixed. It's reactive and it's trainable, but only if you catch it in the moment it fires. Let's say you just finished something hard, a project, a workout, even just getting out of bed when you didn't want to. Your old wiring will try to explain it in one of a few ways. That wasn't enough. You should have done this yesterday. Other people do more. That interpretation used to keep you in line. Now it's keeping you small. So here's how you start changing it. Naturally. The next time you follow through on something, even something small, don't rush past it. Don't let your brain label it with that old automatic commentary. Pause for just 10 seconds. Say to yourself quietly but clearly, "This matters." That might sound insignificant, but in terms of rewiring, that pause interrupts the reflex. That sentence tells your nervous system, "We're doing something different now." Then take it one step further. Give the moment meaning. Not a motivational speech, just something your brain can actually believe. I followed through. I did the uncomfortable thing anyway. This is what progress looks like. It doesn't have to sound profound. It just has to be specific, and true enough that your wiring starts to loosen its grip on the old story. And don't stop there. Your brain builds from patterns, not one-offs, so reinforce the moment by linking it to a trend. This is the third time this week I've chosen the harder path. I'm not just reacting, I'm starting to respond. That's how interpretation becomes identity, quietly, thought by thought, until the story shifts without even asking your permission. And once your interpretation changes consistently, your default wiring follows it. But that's also when the old patterns try to come back. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're finally doing something different. The goal isn't just to feel better after you act, it's to build a version of yourself who doesn't question their own momentum. At first, changing your internal interpretation feels forced. You'll second-guess it. You'll wonder if you're just lying to yourself. And your old wiring will absolutely try to pull you back. Not out of malice, but because it's familiar. But here's the shift no one talks about. One day you'll take action and you won't hear the old voice. You won't have to convince yourself, you won't have to reframe it, you'll just believe it. The interpretation will match the behavior. And it won't feel like a motivational breakthrough, it'll feel like relief. That's the moment rewiring becomes identity. You'll notice it in small ways. You'll start describing yourself differently, not out of ego but from alignment. You'll stop explaining away your progress or minimizing your effort. You'll feel more uncomfortable downplaying your growth than owning it. That's when you know the new neural loops aren't just forming, they're firing by default. And from there, everything accelerates. Because once your interpretation reinforces the new identity instead of resisting it, you don't need to push anymore. The momentum becomes self-sustaining. Let's lock this in. You don't need more hustle. You don't need a better planner. You need to pay attention to the story your brain is telling while you're changing. Because your actions aren't what define you. The meaning you give them does. And when you start assigning meaning that's honest, supportive, and identity-building, your brain rewires naturally, quietly, and permanently. So start there. Not with the habit. Not with the routine. But with the lens. Because once the lens shifts, your whole life starts looking different even if nothing else has changed yet. If this shifted something in you, like the video, so more people find it. And if you want more grounded, no fluff videos like this, hit subscribe. The content on this channel is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute medical, financial, legal, business, or lifestyle advice. Always consult a qualified professional before making changes to your health, finances, legal situation, or personal routines. Do your own research before making any decisions related to income, monetization, or technology use. All views are based on publicly available information and emerging trends at the time of publication, and may evolve over time.